Which brings me to Man of Steel. Now I will start by saying, I enjoyed Man of Steel as an action movie, but as a Superman movie, it kinda sucks. Because for a start, who is Superman in this movie? In every other movie or TV show, you can assess who Superman is. But who is he in this movie? What are his values? I cannot give you a definitive answer to that question other than he likes saving people. All throughout the film, we are consistently told that Clark just cannot help himself and saves people even though it is incredibly possible that the Men in Black will come and take him away. Now people give this movie shit for Jonathan Kent saying this.
What was I supposed to do? Just let him die?
Maybe.
But you guys clearly haven't seen Smallville, because in that show, it's a running theme that Jonathan hated Clark using his abilities because he didn't want to lose Clark. So it didn't really bother me him saying it here. The problem I do have with this is that they don't use these scenes to expand on Clark's character. In Smallville, this provided room for character development. For both Clark and Jonathan, there's plenty of moments in this series where Jonathan has to swallow his pride because he knows Clark won't rest until he saves the people that he loves.
Phelan came back after you were arrested. I got so angry that I grabbed him. And for a second, I wanted to kill him.
But you didn't, right?
Yeah, but I was close.
Believe me, son, I know all there is to know about losing your temper. But you can't afford to do it.
I won't let anybody hurt you and Mom.
And he knows that. But once you've crossed that line, there's no going back.
And that pride ultimately kills Jonathan, because he can't see past people wanting to hurt or experiment on Clark, which eventually causes Jonathan to lash out, which causes his heart to give out on him. And moments like this give us insight into Clark's character because we get to see what he values, what lines will he cross. Because the following episode after Jonathan dies, Martha goes to donate Jonathan's things in order to give her a way to move on, including Jonathan's watch, something that he wore all the time. She gets mugged on the way and loses the watch. The rest of the episode, Clark is on the hunt for the man who took the watch, and in the end, he very nearly kills him. The resolution of the episode is Clark saying that he couldn't have done it because it's not what Jonathan would have wanted, and him finally breaking down and allowing himself to grieve for his father's death. All of this character development was crammed into just 40 minutes of a TV show. 40 minutes gave us more than 2.5 hours did in Man of Steel. Let's take the same scenario where Jonathan dies. I had a problem with this even when I first watched this back in 2013, and I was just a dumbass teenager, because we never really get a sense of their relationship. In every scene with them, they argue like they hate each other. This does not equal father and son. At least not good father and son. And this scene opens with them arguing, so we're off to a great start. But they open with a potentially decent conflict. Except the scene ends, the conflict is never brought up again, and Jonathan is dead. So the scene doesn't matter. Great. So when the tornado begins to form and everybody starts running, naturally, like anyone would with the superpowered son, he tells Clark,
Go for the overpass.
Go for the overpass!
Okay, sure. But once everybody is safe, Martha realizes the dog is still in the car. Clark even offers to go and get the dog, but Jonathan stops him and goes to do it himself.
Why?
Clark would have been in no danger. He could have saved the dog and nobody would have batted an eye. But because Jonathan is a genuine moron, he goes to do it himself, putting himself in mortal danger. And when he gets his foot trapped, and I guess rolled it, he can't get away from the tornado, so he tells Clark not to save him. Again.
Why?
It is genuinely such a stupid moment that even as a 13-year-old I couldn't believe how stupid it was. And by the end of this, what did we learn about the character of Clark Kent? Literally nothing we didn't already know. Clark is kind of an asshole. He doesn't really like his dad, but he wants to save people. Nope, got nothing. This movie suffers from what I like to call Chris Chibnall form of bullshit writing. And what I mean by this is that there's no time for characters to slow down and develop. They just need a bunch of action, baby.
You think you can threaten my mother?
Anytime there is any opportunity for character development, it's immediately interrupted by some action.
Watch it, dumbass! Keep your eyes open, you're gonna get squashed!
5 minutes later.
Let's take this simple scene at the end of the second act when Clark goes to the farm to check on his mother.
Nice suit, son.
Before they can dive into any character development, they immediately get interrupted by Lois running in being like, "Hey, I have the answer."
Clark, I know how to stop them.
And it's at this point in the film where Clark Kent is presented with a choice. He can either save the Kryptonians and help them build a new home, or he has to stop them before they can kill any new people and destroy the planet. Let's take this exact setup from Smallville. In Season 9, the Kryptonians are plotting to take over the Earth and make it their new home. Naturally, Clark is divided on this, because he doesn't want to kill the Kryptonians, nor does he want Earth to be subjugated by them. So he spends all of his time trying to think of another way to stop them, so that everybody can win and live peacefully. And he finds another way. He finds a new home where they can start again and build their civilization from the ground up. But naturally, as you can imagine, Zod wasn't very happy about this, so they fight to the death.
You already destroyed my first home. I won't let you take this one.
Look at that, more Jesus symbolism. Yay! I hate to keep using Smallville as a reference, but when it comes to Superman writing, they really did it well.
Chores, Clark. Work keeps a man honest. Gotta protect the things you worked hard to build.
They didn't do it perfectly, and personally, I think it went for about 3 seasons too long, but at the end of the day, it does deliver a satisfying Superman story. And to be perfectly honest, fuck those people who decided to bring this version of Superman back, only to remove his abilities and have him lose about 5 seasons worth of character development.
That's kryptonite. Which has no effect on me ever since I gave up my powers.
You're kidding me.
That is worth more than any superpower.
Oh, okay.
But if we go back to this scene in Man of Steel, we briefly get a moment that indicates that Clark is divided on what to do. But no need to worry about that because Lois comes in with the answer. See what I mean when there's no room for character development? It all needs to happen right now so we can get on with the action, baby. That being said, the action in this movie is pretty sweet. It isn't horrible, you can watch it and have fun with it. However, this movie is way too destructive. There is no regard for human casualties on either side. That includes Superman. Superman is just blowing through buildings and he doesn't think twice about it. Now there's an argument people have made about this. One of them being, well, that's the point. This movie is meant to be overly destructive in order to teach Clark that he needs to be careful. And I might have agreed with you if the first scene in BVS wasn't this.
That That motherfucker's dead.
which literally just has one message. All the destruction in this film is what it is. Deal with it. See, this is the problem with not establishing Clark's values, because there are rare scenes of him saving people in this movie, like this guy falling from a jet. However, this is literally 1 in a million. Saving this one random guy doesn't make up for millions of other random guys and gals that have been murdered because of his carelessness. I don't believe for a second that Superman would be this careless. Allow me to refer you to my favorite Superman scene of all time. This is literally the best example I can ever think of as to why Superman would never be this careless.
That man won't quit as long as he can still draw a breath. None of my teammates will. Me? I've got a different problem. I feel like I live in a world made of cardboard, always taking constant care not to break something, to break someone. Never allowing myself to lose control, even for a moment, or someone could die. But you can take it, can't you, big man? What we have here is a rare opportunity for me to cut loose and show you just how powerful I really am.
This one scene alone tells me everything that I need to know about Superman's abilities. 1, he's way too powerful to even let himself slip up, because if he does, he could kill somebody. The dude is just way too powerful. Even something as simple as a handshake could go horribly wrong if he doesn't control himself.
Gesundheit.
So I cannot even for a second believe that Superman wouldn't at least try to direct the fight away from the civilian population so that people would be safe. Even if you added a scene like this from Age of Ultron.
Okay, pal, we're gonna get you out of town. Not that way, not that way.
Because that would at least show that he's trying to take the fight away from the human population. But this movie is clearly taking inspiration from Michael Bay, so we gotta up that body count, baby.
You die!
Then the movie culminates in Superman killing Zod. And this just kills me. Now people have clammed on this scene so many times, so I'll try to keep it brief and move on. One of my all-time favorite qualities about Superman is his unwavering need to find a better way. One of my favorite comic books that I've ever read is All-Star Superman, which encapsulates this idea very well. The entire book is based around the fact that, like Icarus, Clark flew too close to the sun and is now dying because of it, and it's unlikely that he will find a cure. The rest of the comic is spent of him trying to find a way to keep Earth protected while he's dead, that no matter what, there is always another way. So when I see Superman with General Zod in a headlock and Zod using his heat vision to attempt to burn people alive, the only solution that Superman could come up with is breaking his neck. I don't believe you. There are so many alternatives that Superman could have thought of that I refuse to believe this was the only thing he thought of. I get the idea they're going for. Zod backed him into a corner and there was no other way. But that's a lie. And I get that Clark cries like a little girl after killing him, but this movie doesn't explain why he didn't like that idea. Does he not like killing? I don't know, because this movie doesn't tell me. Does he feel regret for all the destruction the city endured? Well, no, because in the literal next scene, he destroys more things.
Are you effing stupid?
And in the following movies, the events of this movie are barely mentioned. While yes, Batman in the next movie is reacting to the events of this movie, but Superman isn't. Superman is merely reacting to the events that are happening within this movie, meanwhile Lex is reacting to Superman's mere existence.
I figured out way back. If God is all-powerful, he cannot be all good. And if he is all good, then he cannot be all-powerful. And neither can you be.
So, the events of Man of Steel don't matter. The only time we ever see Clark face up to what he did in Man of Steel is during this courthouse scene. But it's only because it's a useless subplot with some unnamed character that gets blown up in this very scene, so it doesn't matter. And Zuckerberg's motivation is entirely separate from the events of Man of Steel and uses those events as a way to get more kryptonite, but when that doesn't work, he tries alternative means. So again, the events of Man of Steel don't matter. The tonal shift between these movies is also very jarring. Like, it goes from super fast paced with nothing happening to slowing right the fuck down and still nothing happening. Because this movie is taking the perspective of the people on Earth and what they think of Superman.
State Senator personally comfortable saying to a grieving parent, Superman could have saved your child, but on principle, we did not want him to act.
Which in itself is a very interesting concept, and I wish that this movie had dived deeper into it or had a better writer to really dive into it, because this is a fascinating perspective that they could have gone with that it really just goes nowhere with.
The fact is, maybe he's not some sort of devil or Jesus character. Maybe he's just a guy trying to do the right thing.
And unfortunately for this reason, this aspect of the movie just makes Clark out to be more of a symbol than a character. Because just like the last movie, Clark has no character development. He starts as an arrogant dumbass that flies in and breaks shit, and ends the movie as an arrogant dumbass that just flies in and breaks shit.
20 seconds.
You've lost.
I don't know how to lose.
You'll learn.
However, this movie has one of my favorite Superman moments in any movie. It's like they remembered just for a second that this is a Superman movie, and it's this moment right here. This moment is like that moment in The Amazing Spider-Man 2 where they remembered the character for a second. Superman, despite knowing who Lex Luthor is, the man who kidnapped and threatened to burn his mother alive, the man who bombed a building full of innocent people, saves him from being crushed by a monster. This is Superman. I originally started this project in hope that Henry Cavill was coming back as Superman, and I was so excited to have this happen because I genuinely love him as Superman. I really do think that he was just dealt a really shit hand with these movies, and he definitely deserved better, and it just seems like the studio really doesn't like Henry Cavill, or just enjoys taking advantage of this poor guy.
Not impressed.
And honestly, I'm so glad that he's going on to something like Warhammer, because his talents are very much well spent over there. I hope he really does well.